Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
Welcome to Farm Your Daily, a Field Forward podcast. I'm your host, David Geiger. Today on Farm Your Daily, Iowa corn farmers were in Washington, D.C. for the Corn Congress. We talked to Jolene Riessen about what she was up to. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community, keeping folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Your Daily. And joining us on Farm Here Daily, we have Jolene Riessen, the chairman of the Iowa Corn Growers Association. Jolene, it's great to have you back on the program. Thank you so much for joining us on Farm Here Daily. And you got some fun stuff going on. Tell me about your farm. What's going on the farm over there, the Riessen farm?
Well, we finally got our last cutting of hay up. So the weather this year, when it keeps raining, every couple of days, it makes it really tough to get hay up. So anyway, we got that up, and then that night we got rain. So life is good, and we got it all moved at our house. So that was great. Otherwise, right now the boys are hauling grain, and we've got some cattle that we'd like to get worked, but it's a little too warm for that. So there'll be better days.
Iowa humidity during July is pretty intense, so it's something where you got to pick and choose your days.
Right.
Well, good. Glad to hear it. You guys were having an exciting time at the Iowa Corn Growers Association, visiting some national leaders as well. You had the Corn Congress going on. Can you tell us a little bit about the Corn Congress?
So Corn Congress, we have once a year, and that's out in D.C. That meeting, and then we have basically 2 meetings a year where we get all the states together, and there's 28 corn states that belong to the National Corn Growers Association. And we get together and we discuss policy. We make hill visits. We have committee meetings, to which I'm on the trade, animal ag, and transportation committee. So was quite interesting. All the speakers that they brought in to get us up to date as to what's going on, especially on the trade end. So some exciting things coming down the tubes that we haven't had in a few years as far as trade goes. So
would you like to elaborate on that? What really excited you about some of those trade conversations?
Well, first of all, that we had trade conversations, because it seemed like this last presidency, trade was not important at all to that group, and that was super hard. I mean, and now we are seeing it with our markets. We're struggling, and as I'm driving down to the airport, I'm looking at all these gorgeous, cornfields. There is not many bad-looking fields out there, so I know that there's going to be plenty of grain that needs to be moved. And we can't consume all our corn here in the United States, so we need to export grain. So there's a trade getting set up with Vietnam, Indonesia, working very hard on getting into the India market. We're getting very close. A couple of those, my understanding, the letters of intent have been signed. So I do not know further details, but just the idea that we have some markets that are opening up to our products is very exciting, which will help to alleviate some of the burdensome corn supply that we're going to be running into.
Jolene, you talked about the 45Z tax credit. Can you go over what you discussed and maybe some of the accomplishments that came from that discussion?
So that 45Z tax credit is a way to help ethanol plants to sequester their carbon, because at this point in time, our ethanol plants and the CI score of our ethanol plants is too high in order to sell into that sustainable aviation fuel, which is SAF. So we were asking for $1.75. And with that $1.75, part of it was going to go to the ethanol plants. The corn grower was going to get a portion of that, but then the other portion of that was going to go to the makers of the SAF to help get that market going. So by kind of like the way what we did when ethanol was first started, and there was just kind of like not the market out there, and we helped build that market by that tax incentive there. But that's not, I mean, we did get some, we got $1 instead of $1.75, but that's just not going to go very far, and it's not really going to incentivize a lot of businesses to want to invest in sustainable aviation fuel. But with that said, the main thing is we have something on the books and we can move ahead with that. So that was our other ask, was to, please see if we couldn't round up some more dollars. And they did talk about that they were there could possibly be a second reconciliation bill out there. And then at that time, they were going to continue to ask for some more monies. Now, Ernst there at the end, before the final vote on the tax bill, did ask for that $1.75, but she got shot down, from that. So anyway, it's kind of a different way for us to be doing business. So we're trying to develop that market, putting monies into it, and basically, kind of trying to help that market out. But it didn't quite get all the way through. But like I say, we have a start. That's amazing. I know that there was one senator in particular was not too hep on 45Z, and after a couple, 3 Hill visits out there, finally got him moved to where he understood. And one of the concerns was coming up with a CI score. And I had a study done on my farm. I'm actually a net carbon. I take in more carbon, so I'm carbon zero negative, basically. And just told him basically there were 6 categories they need to check the box on. That was tillage, are you using a cover crop, are you using manure, your yield, and there was a couple other ones. But basically that kind of put the standard together so that you could figure out a CI score. So it was basically not hard to do. But something, for farmers to be able to come up with and be able to go to the ethanol plant and say, hey, or wherever they're selling to, it's like, I can help you get to your a lower CI score, but, can you help me out on what you're giving me for price? So to me, it's a win-win. It's helping us to develop a market. And when you talk about sustainable aviation fuel, it seems like maybe here in the United States, not kind of such a big deal, but when you go nationally, internationally, that is the ask. That countries are wanting low carbon intensity fuel. And so I want the United States to be the one to deliver that, not Brazil.
We definitely seem to be building a bumper crop this year. And on the Hill, you had a chance to meet with Iowa's congressional delegation, senators and representatives. What were the top priorities that you really wanted to talk with them about when it comes to Iowa farmers, Iowa corn farmers?
So probably the number one item that we wanted to talk with them about was year-round E15. So if we can get year-round E15 and nationwide E15, I mean, granted, we have year-round E15 in 8 states. We need to expand that to the rest of the United States and give other consumers a chance at a low-cost fuel that performs the same as all the other fuels out there in the pump. So it's a choice for the consumer. It's fuel savings. It is at no cost. There is no tax that needs to happen to make this go from E10 to E15. And And then bottom line is, we're worried about the carbon capture. And so by using E15, we actually reduce carbon emissions. So it's okay to get this happening for about 10 years. And it's time, I think the United States consumers are ready to have a low cost fuel that they can put in their tank.
Something I believe that's come up pretty recently is some analysis of farm bankruptcies as well. The last couple of years have been pretty great, actually, when it comes to having very few farm bankruptcies, but just the first 3 months of 2025 has returned to kind of that pre-COVID level, post-COVID level of bankruptcies. Did the senators and representatives seem to be taking that as an issue that they want to present to the national stage?
We didn't necessarily talk about bankruptcy in particular, but we did talk about the big beautiful bill and the tax implications that were extended beyond this year. So, for example, the estate tax, instead of they were going to drop it down to $12,000 or $12,000, and they bumped that up to 15 or 30 for all. So in that respect, that was great. Also, the depreciation, we're going to be able to get our depreciation back to what we had before, which will be a big help as far as for equipment wise. Just, it was tough to be able to buy a piece of equipment and only be able to depreciate at 25%. I had a chance to speak in front of the Ways and Means Committee and just kind of explain to them that a $450,000 combine is worth what a lot of people are paying for a house, and yet people have 20, 30 years to pay off a house, and we're expected to pay off that combine in 3 to 5, maybe 7 years. And by that time, that combine has probably seen enough acres that it might need a new home. So it's dealing with a lot of dollars and just needing some help in order to be able to make those purchases that will increase the efficiency of my farm.
Let's go over that House Ways and Means Committee. Were there any questions you received that you thought were really poignant or intuitive as we approach this conversation of agriculture at the federal level?
I think there's federally, I don't know if, not everybody is a farmer. So not everybody knows the kind of dollars that we have to deal with and to make those payments and yet continue to make cash flow. So when you have sub $4 corn and $4 corn for a lot of guys is not break even, it needs to be a little higher than that. So definitely putting the pinch on farmers to be actually pretty creative or to cut back on input costs that normally we would have done, and to help make a better crop. So I think it's just more understanding of the dollars that we have to work with, or how the price of goods have gone up, that our input costs versus what we're getting back in return. And so sharing with them that I think opened up a few eyes. And I guess my final words to them, if you want to eat, you need to help us out. So, everybody wants food on the table, and as a farmer, I am glad to put it there. And that is, to me, my mission in life is to feed people, and I take that very seriously. But I also want to be able to, have a decent living too. And so to farm, to go broke is, there you go.
Hey, Jolene, we're going to take a quick moment to talk about the marketplace on Farm Here Daily.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
And there was a negative close in the grain trade for the Monday market close. September corn 4 3/4 cents down 4.03 3/4. December falling 5.5 cents at 4.22 1/4. Soybeans in August 12 3/4 cents weaker at 10.15, with September down 10.5 cents at 10.10 1/2. Soybean meal in August $3.50 a ton in the red at $270.50. September wheat 4 cents lower, 5.42 1/4, with December falling 3 3/4 at 5.63 1/4. In the livestock market, close for Monday, some green there. August live cattle up $1.67 a hundredweight, $225.22. October $1.80 a hundredweight more at $221.62. Feeder cattle in August $3.60 a hundredweight stronger at $327.60, with September up $3.50 at $227.70. Lean hogs in August 87 cents a hundredweight more at $107.35, with October up 35 cents at $90.97. That is the Monday market close. This is Farm Here Daily.
Got some good news for your ears. More of that good stuff is coming up. And even better news for your hair. The best hair care is at Sephora. They've got all kinds of products for every kind of hair. From brands like Amika, Kerastase, Day, and K18. You knew where to get great audio. Now, you know where to get great hair care, too. Sephora. Good news for great hair. Shop hair care now at Sephora.com.
Let's go over this Not a Latte event that you guys had on Capitol Hill. You got a chance to talk to folks at the White House, the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office, and the Department of Justice. And Iowa corn farmers have had many times over the last decade or so where there have been conflicts between many of those groups. So approaching this newer administration, how did that go?
Well, so basically it kind of was all stemming off the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. And one of the items that was pointed out that they felt was causing some health concerns were pesticides, the same things that we need to use every day. So the latte was basically showing that about the size of a cup of coffee is about all the pesticides that we put out on a whole acre of ground. So, and just to put that into context, an acre of ground is equal to about a football field. So can you imagine trying to take a cup of coffee and spread it over that entire football field? You are not putting much product out there at all. To which, as a farmer, the least amount of inputs, out there, the better off I am as far as for my expenses, at the end of the year. So it was just a way to show people how far we've come in the farm community and the science behind, the use of our pesticides. I don't use it anymore, and I have to because it's an expense to me. And so I follow the label. EPA sets that up. FDA or USDA kind of monitors all that. The pesticides are looked at every 8 to 15 years. So, I'm a college graduate. I trust the science. That's what those people, that's their job, is to study and to, if there's concern, they do more tests, they do more studies. We don't get a new herbicide or any type of pesticide unless all the boxes are checked up, with the government. And I'm good with that. I'm not the scientist. I'm just a farmer, so I'm going to use that product in good faith. I'm going to use the correct amount and not go over label, because if I go over label, then that's costing me and that's good for the environment. So too many guys that it's like, a little more is better. Yeah, no, that is definitely not the case. We follow those objections. We have to go through training every year to learn how to and make sure that we are applying these products safely and effectively. And that's my job as a farmer, to deliver to the consumer a safe and wholesome product that I would feed my family. So feel very confident in what I'm producing and putting it on the market. And I feed my own family the same products, and so I wouldn't feed my family something I wouldn't feed yours.
How receptive did the folks from the White House or the EPA seem to be when you were talking about all of that?
They will definitely listen. That is not, and now with Rollins in there, she seems to have a little more open ear to what we're talking about. So that is quite helpful. I no doors were slammed in our face. They were open, they were receptive, and and they wanted to hear our side of the story as we wanted to hear what they had to say too, because we have to work together in order to produce the amount of food that we do here in the United States. So to have one side, to be taking sides is not productive. So we want to work with them. We have nothing to hide. I've told any times like, oh, you farmers, I'm like, you just come on out to my farm. I've got nothing to hide. And if you got questions, I will try and answer them the best I can. So just know that, that I trust in what I'm doing. I trust my chemical companies. I trust the EPA to come up with those standards for how we can use our products.
Jolene, just taking a look then over this entire time of the Corn Congress, why is it important that Iowans make their way out to Washington, D.C. and tell their side of the story to the folks who make a lot of really big decisions that impact the rest of us?
Well, I'm always, so my motto basically is, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't ask them to, help you with tax problems, then you're not going to get help. If you don't ask for nationwide E15, you're not going to get nationwide E15. And so I've had the opportunity by working with the Corn Growers Association on behalf of farmers, not only in the state of Iowa, but across all United States, because all corn farmers basically have the same ask out there. And just to be able to go and talk with the different congressional people. And we not only talk with our own state people, we go and talk to, and we just call them non-corn states that maybe do not have a lot of corn, production, but yet they're still consumers of our products. And so for them to understand why these things are important. And if you're not dealing with that every day, you don't know. And so, and also too, as I go and talk to non-corn states, it's like, why is what my ask of you, for example, to support nationwide E15, why would that be important to your state? Well, number one, it's lower cost fuel for your consumers. Who doesn't like that? And it's at no cost to the state. Who doesn't like that? And I just look at the health benefits. So anytime that we can cut emissions, into our atmosphere, that's a win for our consumers. So to me, it's okay. For me as a farmer, it's a no-brainer. But to explain that, and I mean that sincerely, that just for them to understand why this is a good thing for their state, and then it's like, so please support your nationwide E15 to not only help your state, but it'll also help corn farmers across the United States. And bottom line is, so when we have a very strong farm economy, we have a strong U.S. economy, because so if farmer inherently, if I get $1 and I've got more dollars, and I feel that I can make that buy, it'll turn in my community about 6 times. So that means I'm bringing in jobs. It means I'm producing a value added product, or it's going to be value added. And so that adds to the tax, to the tax pot or the revenue of the state, keeps people employed, keeps me employed, and it makes us a better economy for the whole United States. So I just see a big win as far as, for example, like the nationwide E15, and there's others, things that we visited about out there during Corn Congress too, but that was one of the more important ones.
Before I let you go, were there any unique experiences, any funny conversations you had on kind of to end on a lighthearted note of just something you may not have expected going over to Washington, D.C.?
Well, Okay, I guess I was surprised at how happy all my representatives and senators were for such a grueling, trying to get the reconciliation bill through. And I know the long hours that were spent because I had been out there to do some lobbying in the meantime. So it was very intense lobbying. It was very intense, back and forth, and to see them as happy as they were was really nice. I mean, they were kind of, you could tell they felt that they had moved the needle, and I really appreciate what they did, especially for the farmers here in the state of Iowa, for their legislation that they did push forward.
Jolene Riessen is the chairman of the Iowa Corn Growers Association, spending time at the Corn Congress in Washington, D.C. last week. Jolene, thank you so much for your time on Farm Here Daily.
Well, thank you so much, and sure appreciate you giving me time to visit.
Thanks again, Jolene. This is Farm Here Daily, a Field Forward podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local content, we would love to have you join our community. So please follow the podcast as well as our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. You can also find me on social media at Geiger Reports, as well as WHO TV Channel 13 every weekday in their morning and noon hour programs. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.